Join us now for a future Nobel laureate, I think, after this. Maybe not, but Ruchir Sharma is here, Rockefeller International chairman and Breakout Capital founder and CIO. We just had just a moment, Ruchir. I'm so pleased. His new book is out today. What Went Wrong with Capitalism? The whole thrust of this book, basically, is that capitalism has been I guess it's been ruined by big government. And we don't need capitalism 2.0 or some type of woke capitalism. We need to return to real capitalism because big government spending, deficits, regulations have spoiled capitalism. And the reason that you name it that is no one's going to read it.
You're projecting. You're projecting.
He just said that.
Other elements of the book
no
that
one's going to read it. No one's going to read it if you don't. You could preach to the choir. You want to bring in people that hate capitalism and show them what the real problem is.
Yes, exactly. And I think that so far that seems to be succeeding. Although today is my launch day. But
good. Everybody should read this.
Right. But the early buzz, what I can make out is this, which is that a lot of people have come on your show and spoken about how government spending is out of control, how budget deficits are out of control. What I try and show in this book is that it's the suite of government habits. If you look at regulations, we introduce now, America, 3,000 new regulations a year.
And don't get rid of any of the old ones.
In the last 20 years, we've gotten rid of 20 regulations in total, right? So 3,000 every year, we get rid of 20. Then we've become a bailout nation. It's a history that even I learned as I was researching this book, which is that back in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, right up until the 1980s, the concept of the American government bailing out a private sector company was heretical. It was said, we don't do this. Then you get the first big bailout in 1984 of Continental Illinois.
Yep.
And after that, it's been a succession where you get progressively bigger and bigger bailouts, where now it's become almost analogous, as I've said in the book, to our culture of pain management, which is that you get the slightest pain, you give them opiate, right? So, and you have an opiate crisis as a result. Similarly, like on the economy now, the risk has become socialized, which is that when things are going well, when things on the upside, let them run. The moment there's the slightest flutter or something is going wrong, we're going to intervene and the government has your back. So this is not what capitalism was really meant to be. So it's a suite of government habits. On your show, you had people focus just on government spending or even the Fed in terms of the asymmetry of the Fed. But what the book tries and do is to show you over the last 100 years how capitalism has progressed to this very distorted form of what we have today. Right. Bernie Sanders would like to call it socialism for the rich, but this is really socialized risk.
Andrew, there is something for everyone in this, because this is not just government's fault. This is big corporations that want bailouts.
Yes.
But they ruin capitalism too. That's the thing. So we've got problems from government
because they've socialized.
And corporatism.
The problem is that the gain, I mean, it's a cliche. The gains have been privatized, the losses have been socialized.
But the moral of the story remains that if you can, they're both at fault, governments and corporations, but capitalism in its purest form is the way we need to go.
I'm not sure you say that either, because you also talk about competition.
Yes, but I say, like in the book, that
that's what capitalism is.
No, but that there's not enough competition.
Right, but
that goes to the government part.
And that hurts capitalism.
Yeah, because
but you need government to do that.
But my regulations, Andrew, tend to be pro-incumbent and pro-big business, because who are the people who are able to game the regulations? Who are the people who are able to pay for the entire regulatory environment? It is principally big business. If you look at small businesses today, the cost, for example, on Wall Street, you speak to people, the cost of setting up a new fund today, if you're a small person, is 10 times larger than what it used to be 20 years ago.
So you can never get it back.
Yeah, exactly. So you have all the big hedge funds, the big people who are out there who are able to do it, and you have these enormous growth there. But for anyone new looking to do this, it's become very tough. And that's just a microcosm. It's happening across businesses.
This is an age-old problem. The lobbyists and everybody who can get a congressman or a congresswoman to listen to them and take their...
I want to add just one piece of context or nuance to that, though.
Sure.
That is true in the world of finance. It is not true in so many other worlds, because I would argue to you that now we have this backbone called the internet and the technology that anybody can use a cloud and sell product. I mean, the idea that somehow the incumbents are always going to win, I think that there's a lot of truth to that in certain cases, of the biggest. But in terms of the amount of small businesses that could come online over the last 20 years as a function of technology is a remarkable thing now.
Yes, Andrew, and yet what my data shows, over the last 20 years, right up until the pandemic, the number of new startups in this country is actually declining.
Yep.
Economic and social mobility have declined. The probability of you being a billionaire and becoming entrenched has gone up 40%. So churn has reduced in general in the economy, and that's why capitalism, as I argue in the book, is not working for the average person. Therefore, in America today, most young people, when they are polled, say they want socialism, not capitalism. But what they don't realize, I think, is the fact that what you have today is not the capitalism the way it was meant to be. This has become socialism for everyone. In a way, risk has been socialized. That's the point I'm trying to make in the book. It's a suite of government habits. And of course, I'm not even going down the path that we're running a 6% budget deficit when we have full employment. That's a different
But how
aspect.
much do you think the government is captured?
A lot, I think, because if you look at even things like lawyers, right, in this country, America always had the highest number of per capita lawyers in the world. But the last 20 to 30 years, the growth in that has gone parabolic. That's just telling you about what's being captured. Who are the biggest lobbyists today in Washington? They are the tech companies. The big mega cap tech companies are the biggest lobbyists back in Washington today. So there's been a massive regulatory.
But who is pushing? But the reason I'm asking you these questions is because, from a party perspective, political party perspective, who do you think is pushing back the most, and who do you think is pushing back the least?
Who's going to save us? If corporations are doing it, and if corporations are too powerful and government is too powerful, who can stand up for capitalism, pure capitalism? Who's going to do that?
Unfortunately not, but as I said, today in America, 70% of Americans are saying that they want major economic change, and the polling language used is they want the economic
system to go
down.
Yeah.
Right, in terms of that. And in Europe, it's even higher because they have an even more distorted version of capitalism than we do. And yet, as we go around the world, I offer examples in the book from Switzerland to Taiwan to in Vietnam, that you give people more economic freedom. Typically, people tend to do much better. Those societies tend to be happier, and we end up getting much.
So how do we get back to that? We're screwed. How do we get back to that?
Well, until, unfortunately, that we get a crisis. And the government is out of its ability to rescue and to spend, there will be no turn. So it's more of the same.
Until there's an absolute, complete collapse, basically.
Collapse, but until the ability of the government to do this, because what I show in the book is progressively every decade, the habits have gotten worse. As I said, we never bailed out companies until the 1980s. In terms of the stock market reaction, that every time the stock market is flying, it's fine.
But you're talking about Great Recession or Great Depression.
No, I'm not talking about a Great Depression as well. I'm just trying to say that something needs to be able to get people to course correct, right? Which is that for now, we have this sort of attitude, which is very true also, which is of the Biden administration, etc. That things are great, right? Economy is growing at 2 or 3%, stock market's flying, we got AI. Why do we need to do anything?
Great. We had a great financial crisis. That didn't do it. Then we had a global pandemic, and that didn't do it.
Because they made it worse.
Well, that pretty much leads to nuclear war.
But I think
which is maybe coming too with Putin and everything else.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to highlight it here in terms of, as I said, the first step to a cure is to diagnose the problem.
Okay.
Today, the problem that, a lot of people say is we need more intervention to fix these problems. We need more intervention to fix inequality. I'm saying that you got into first, all this mess and this disaffection with capitalism because of the way that you have been running government or, for the last 30, 40 years. And I said that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So I'm not doubting that. But the outcome that we're getting today is very perverse.
Right.